it's August, which means Hobbs and Shaw is finally here, and they can't release any more trailers and give more spoilers away for the movie. Woohoo! To be quite honest, that is my biggest problem with this film. The trailers gave away so many spoilers, which I know is the point of the trailers, to market the film and get audiences in, but holy dooly, the trailers gave away so much of the final act of the film. It just got boring. And I hate to say that because the cinematography was beautiful and it was just really interesting how they did it. It's just like, wow, I'm bored out of my mind because I already know what's going to happen because you showed me in the trailer. So that was a bit infuriating, especially because the movie goes for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So when you're in the last half an hour and you're bored, it's just like, oh, can we just end the film? So that's the main negative of the film. The best positive of this film is it's absolutely hilarious, which is not surprising because you have Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham together. Already they have fantastic chemistry that you would have seen in the Fast and Furious movies and just in general from the other movies they've done and just who they are as themselves. They are very funny people, they are very charismatic, and they have great chemistry in this film. So my biggest problem with this film is the pacing. So the first hour and a half is all super quick. There's a lot happening. You get them recruited into this mission. You get to meet Hattie, who is Shaw's sister, who's played wonderful by Vanessa Kirby. You get introduced to Brixton, who's played by Idris Elba, who was the bad guy, Black Superman, as they call him in the trailer. And basically, they're just reunited. So it's very quick with what they're doing at the start. They're very quick in kind of tracking Hattie down and fighting Brixton. So all this is really quick. It's really fast paced. There is a lot of stuff in the trailer, but it's the enjoyable stuff. It's the stuff that's done really quick. And there's no real issues with this. And then there's a huge explosion and you're like, oh, this could be the conclusion. But then there's 30 minutes left. And they go to Samoa, which, as I said, it's beautiful. The cinematography there is gorgeous. But it just felt like you're watching a completely different movie when you get to this part. So I feel like they made a mistake there. They could have easily done this in 2 films. Had the first film as kind of Shaw's backstory because you have Hattie coming in, which is his sister. You see a lot of his mother. Unfortunately, there was no mention of Owen Shaw at all, which is really unfortunate. I'm not sure whether Luke Evans just simply didn't want to be in the film, which if he didn't, they still could have mentioned him, but they also didn't really mention anyone else from the Fast and Furious franchise other than Mr. Nobody, which is more of a code name. So maybe there is a reason for it, but it was a little annoying that they had such a huge focus on Shaw's family, but then didn't mention his brother. And then the second part goes into Hobbs' family. And it just feels like the first movie, this one, should have focused on Shaw's family and then the sequel should have focused on Hobbs. Because while the Samoa storyline of it all is really well done, it just felt like a different movie. And they didn't get the same screen time that they were deserved to really expand on his family, to really expand on the traditional kind of fighting that they wanted to use, because that, like, they built it up and like, oh, we're going to fight old school, and then it's over like super quick. So that was quite disappointing. The main disappointing thing, I guess, is they built Roman Reigns up to be in this film because he took a break from WWE as he was fighting cancer, which thankfully he has beaten. And they basically like, oh, he's with his cousin filming with Hobbs and Shaw. It's going to be this massive thing, especially like as they're real life cousins. And it took him, because he had to be out of WWE, like he still looked fit and healthy. And he had no dialogue. And I'm just like, you didn't utilize him. He's not the strongest promo on the mic with wrestling, but this was such an opportunity for him to grow, and they just didn't utilize him. And just the way they market him, I was quite disappointed. So that's my biggest flaw with the movie. They didn't utilize the other characters they brought in. They didn't really utilize the Samoa story because it's done in the last 45 minutes, which was spoiled so much by the trailers. It was very rushed. It was very differently paced. It just should have had its own movie. And I just felt like that ruined kind of the flow. The movie was still very funny throughout. There was 2 cameos, one was just extraordinary. I really want to talk about who the cameo was, but that might be spoilers for people that will be as surprised as I was and laugh their ass off because he's fantastic. And there's 3 post-credits regarding this character as well. So I imagine he might come back for the sequel, which would be awesome. Yeah, so the cameos were probably the best. I'm really surprised they kept them secret. The storyline is very average at best. You have to definitely go in with an open mind. Don't read into anything. Just enjoy it for what it is. There is no car racing scenes in this. It doesn't feel like a Fast and Furious movie at all, except we already know who Hobbs and Shaw is. I feel like they just did this because they didn't want to give the characters really any personality or backstory in this film alone. They just wanted to utilize what came from other films, which is fine. This film is going to make money and that's what they want. But it just was disappointing that they made no other references to other characters, especially because I still need closure about Han being... I wouldn't say Deckard really murdered Han because Han was in the car accident, but he could have saved Han, so I'm still blaming him for Han dying. They don't reference that, and we get really no closure as the audience member. He doesn't really get redeemed in that aspect. He gets more redeemed as his MI6 past. So there is a lot of issues, just storyline and how this fits into the whole franchise as a whole, which I'm hoping they will either address in Fast and Furious 9, or if they do a sequel, this one. And Fast and Furious 10 is meant to be the last one of that, so maybe we'll all get closure then. But I feel like I'm expecting way too much in like 2 movies. If you love Fast and the Furious, you will enjoy this film, but don't be surprised because it has a very different feel. There is no real focus on cars. There is a nice little throwaway joke from Jason Statham about the Italian job with the cars in his garage, but otherwise there's really nothing else car related that you've come to expect from Fast and Furious. The directing by David Lynch was fantastic. He has done Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde, and John Wick recently. So they are all really good films. He's a great director and producer. So he did a great job with this film. I just feel like it would be more successful if they just promoted it as a buddy cop movie rather than, hey, this is coming from Fast and Furious. But this is coming from a fan that is of Fast and Furious franchise. I own all the DVDs and I enjoy rewatching them. And I just feel like this is not a film I would buy and add to that collection. While I enjoyed watching it, I'd probably watch it again. It's not something I can watch over and over and over again just because the last half an hour just takes a sudden dip and it gets really boring. Which, again, it has nothing to do with that act. It just felt like a completely different movie. So that's my review for Hobbs and Shaw. While it's enjoyable to watch, it is not the typical Fast and Furious you would come to really expect and deserve. I hope that Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel can reconcile and all the other guys and they can come together again. But I just feel like they're going to keep doing their own Hobbs and Shaw thing because this is going to bring money in and do their own successful franchise. So thanks for watching. Comment below if you enjoyed the movie, if you feel like the storyline was more believable, especially if you feel like maybe you enjoyed this more than the actual Fast and Furious franchise, or if you hated it, just let me know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you as always for watching.